Alright, what is up guys, Sam here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a video on 3 tips for helping to control your asthma as an athlete. So obviously this isn't going to be relevant to everybody, but hopefully some of you out there that suffer with asthma, well not hopefully, but you know what I'm saying. And hopefully I can give you guys some tips to help you breathe in, even if you don't suffer from asthma. If you suffer from say allergies or anything, this video can be helpful to you. So some of you may already know I have asthma, but I try not to bring it up too much because it's just really pointless. My asthma isn't too bad to where I can't do anything. I can still go out, I can do sports and things like that. But I do need to take an inhaler with me, and I take it every morning and night. So it's something that does affect my life, not as much as it could, but I manage it pretty well at the moment. So I just want to give you guys some tips. If you're struggling with your asthma, if you find throughout the year it gets worse then gets better, but it really stops you from training at a high level. These are going to be some tips that can hopefully help you guys out. So step 1 is going to be to take your medication. So this one sounds really stupid and really like self-explanatory, but it took me the longest time to actually start taking my inhaler both morning and night. It was probably when I was around, I don't know, probably 17, 16 that I actually started doing it. It's just one of those things that you really start to like really put off, and then like you just get into this phase of just not doing it, and then you just take it when you need it, which isn't great. You really need to make sure you take your inhaler morning and night, and go to your doctors as well for checkups, because for me, I was taking the same inhalers, which is like the blue and the brown one if you're on inhalers, and I was taking them for about 15 years I think, and it's just the same ones the whole way through until I actually went to a doctor's probably about, when I was about 17, 18 I think, and they gave me the red one, which is, it's basically different. It's basically the blue and the brown mixed into one. But what it means is I only need one inhaler. I can take it morning and night, and if I need it during the day, I can take it then as well. So make sure A, you take your medication, and B, go to your checkups and things, so like your doctor's appointments, because they can tell you how your asthma is progressing, if it's getting better, if it's getting worse, and that really helps you kind of like gauge on like your everyday life. So for me, like being active consistently helps my asthma, but if I spend a lot of time inside, don't get out, and then go outside, it gets worse. And that's kind of the thing that I picked up, not only just from feeling it on my own, but going to asthma checkup clinics throughout the year, and they can really tell you like, you know, it's worse now, but it was better then, and so on. And it's just definitely worth doing. And then at the same time, they can recommend, or there's this new inhaler, do you want to try it out, which is my case. So give it a go, make sure you go to your doctor's appointments and take your medication. Number 2 is to warm up. So you should be doing this anyway if you're doing lots of sports and activities, but more specifically is to warm up your lungs. So this is something that I do if I'm going for runs or if I've got a big session coming up. I find that if I don't warm up before I do it, my lungs are definitely going to take a hit. I'm going to find it much harder to breathe. So there's a few different techniques that I do and a few different exercises, so I'll go through those. So the first one I do is to really kind of like stretch my lungs. So what I do is I'll take in some deep breaths in through my nose, and I'll just hold it in my chest for as long as I can. So literally for the last second when you gotta like breathe out like crazy, I'll hold it for as long as I can, really trying to stretch it out. And I'll do that for about, I don't know, maybe 10 times into the chest, and then I'll do it into my belly, which is basically, I think they call it diaphragm breathing. So when you breathe in through your nose, you push it into your stomach. What this does is it pulls your lungs downwards and muscles, basically creates like negative space in your lungs to help them fill up, which is more effective than breathing into your chest. So I'll put on some like B-roll, like the how it looks different between breathing into your chest and breathing into your diaphragm. When you do this also, make sure you breathe in through your nose. It helps filter out the air, so any pollutants, also warms the air before it goes into your lungs, which is going to help your lungs be able to use it much more, especially if you suffer with asthma. So like I said, diaphragm breathing is much more effective than breathing in through your chest. Breathing in through your chest is more like the fight or flight response, where you're basically, it's panic breathing when you breathe in through your chest. So what you want to make sure when you're doing these exercises, when you breathe in your chest, do it slowly and don't do it too much. I only do it to really stretch out my chest and my lungs if I'm going for like a long run or something, or if I'm going to be doing some hard exercise. It just helps to stretch out your lungs at the top and diaphragm at the bottom. I like to do both just so you don't know what's going to happen in a session, so I think it's better to be prepared and have both warmed up. When you're breathing normally, when you're breathing in your exercise, you want to try and make sure you're doing your diaphragm breathing, so breathing into your belly. There's loads of benefits for this. So the first one is it lowers your heart rate. It's more calming breathing into your belly than it is in your chest, so basically it will also reduce the effect of the stress hormone cortisol. That helps you relax as well. It will improve your core muscle stability and also slows your breathing rate, so you're using much less energy to do it. Obviously from those benefits come more benefits, so it's kind kind of like a chain as it works down. So for instance, lowering your heart rate is going to affect how much energy you use. It's also going to affect how calm you are. So it's also good for like if you're just trying to chill out, try and focus for a bit on your breathing through your diaphragm rather than your chest. It's going to help you feel more relaxed, especially for me if I'm in the change rooms before sparring or a fight or anything. I really try and focus on breathing through my diaphragm rather than my chest. It's just going to slow everything down a bit for you and just make you be able to focus that a bit more, because it's just going to calm you down. So that's tip number 2, warming up your lungs, obviously with the rest of your body as well, but warming up your lungs, don't miss that part out. It can be a game changer for you. So the final tip is to run. So this tip is going to be a bit of an odd one for a lot of people. You're going to think a bit odd, but if you're not at a stage where you can run a brisk pace walk, and do the same thing as well. And for me, what this does, it exposes my lungs to the outside air throughout the year on a constant basis, which I think is absolutely massive for asthmatics. What happens is, for a lot of sports, you go from training indoors to outdoors, but it's done in seasons. So you may spend 8 months training indoors, where your lungs are only being exposed to maybe air conditioning or the temperatures that are regulated inside, and your lungs are only getting exposed to that consistently. They're not getting exposed to that outside where you got pollution, you got pollen, you got cold weather, warm weather. It's really different and affects your lungs in many different ways. For me, running on a consistent basis, 5 days a week, perfect to be honest. What that does, if you do that throughout the year, you're giving your lungs time to adapt to the different season changes, the increases in pollen, adaptation, I guess is the word, in pollution. So obviously pollution goes up every year, more or less, I'm guessing. If you're outside all the time, your lungs are going to be able to kind of adapt to that and really be able to control it a lot better, especially with seasons changing, with the pollen and the weather. Cold weather especially affects my asthma, and even just a change in season. So when we're in that kind of period where it's like hot one day, cold the next day, that really affects my asthma quite a lot. But if I'm outside running every day consistently, my lungs kind of get used to that a lot more, because the weather almost changes a lot more slowly if you're outside every day rather than running say like once a month. That difference in the month and exposure to your lungs on one day to the next day, it's going to be a massive difference in between those days. Whereas if you're doing it every day, there may be a difference and you may feel it in your lungs some days, but it's going to be much less than if you were to say train inside for 8 months and then go outside for 4 months. That's going to hit you like a brick wall, that asthma. Your lungs are going to have to try and adapt really quick. So running for me, it helps me control my asthma on a consistent level. I know where I am throughout the year. I know which seasons I'm worse in. Even with the running throughout the year, you still get good days and bad days, but every day becomes a bit better than it would be if you weren't doing it. So hands down for me, like, just get outside, light jog, bit of running, but do it consistently throughout the year, and that for your asthma honestly is going to do wonders. I don't have the science behind it, and this is really just like bro science from me, but as an asthmatic, from my experience, the single-handed most effective thing for me is just constant exposure outside for my lungs. It just helps me adapt so much more. It means at work, my asthma's fine. When I'm at home in the house, I have a dog and my allergies are pretty bad to the dog. Having that exposure throughout the year as well, it all just contributes, that's the word I was looking for, to just being able to control my asthma on a more consistent level. And I think that's what it's all about, really. You're not going to cure your asthma with these tips. It's going to allow you to gain more insight to your own asthma and learn how to control it for yourself. Give these 3 tips a go, guys. I hope they help you out, or if you suffer from bad allergies, they might still help you out. If you've got any more things, if you are asthmatic, that you do personally, then pop them down in the comments so everyone can see. Try and help some people out. And that's it. If you haven't subscribed already, please do, and I'll see you next time. I'm out.